Welcome to Prescriptive Duct Sealing Certification Training. This is Module 2, Tools of the Trade. The topics we're going to cover in this module will include the different types of duct sealing tools, when to use those tools, and how to properly use those tools. There is an old adage, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. The same holds true when working with sheet metal and duct work. Having the right tool makes that job better, faster, and results in a more durable duct sealing job. Tools of the trade that you should have would be a duct knife or flex duct, tensioning tools, that's what gets those tensioning straps on good and tight, crimpers, used to put two pieces of pipe together, notchers, a good drill and a screw gun or an impact drill sure helps, benders for making right angles in sheet metal, circle cutter, and a stitch stapler. While it is possible to rip, tear, and otherwise destroy flex duct without a duct knife, it is really best to use a duct knife. A duct knife has sharp edges on both sides. And the way you use that duct knife is you sort of just come in and stab it, and you get a puncture in the outside liner and a puncture through the layer of insulation into that interior liner. The next step is to cut thoroughly all around the duct, both inside layer, outside layer, and the fiberglass insulation. The duct knife comes with a wire cutter. Use this wire cutter at the bottom, looks like a little notch, to cut that interior helix wire in the inside. If you use your tin snips to cut that wire, you'll put a notch and otherwise destroy your perfectly good set of tin snips. After you've cut the flex duct, gently pull it apart. If you are tearing the insulation, don't do that. Stop and recut the insulation. You do not want to damage the insulation or the outside or the inside liner by pulling rather than cutting. Tension ties, nylon draw ties, no matter what you call them, they're absolutely required when connecting flex duct to a takeoff that is sheet metal. I don't care how big your bicep is, how strong your forearm is, you cannot get them sufficiently tight. You'll need a tensioning tool. These tools are specifically designed to apply mechanical force to get a good tight seal, and also they contain a clipper at the end that allows you to clip off any excess tie. Step 1 of connecting flex duct to a round takeoff is to pull back the outer liner and the insulation to expose the inner liner. Generally, you'll need about 8 to 10 inches to make the job easy. Step 2 is to pull the inner liner over the sheet metal duct by at least 2 inches. Make sure you get it up on all sides of it, just not on the front side. You want to make sure the panduit strap that you're about to apply connects all the way around the round duct. Next step is to place the tie around the liner, securing a full loop of the duct's metal wire. At this point, you can just settle on it being hand tight. Step 4 is to insert the end of the tie into the tensioning tool, squeeze several times. You can over tighten this. Some of the better tension tools actually have an adjustment that you can make that snaps the tie when you get it to the right tension. Don't over tighten. If you over tighten, you can actually in some cases crush the ductwork. After you've secured the inner liner, the next step is to pull the insulation and the outer liner as far up on the sheet metal fitting as possible. The final step in the process is to apply a tension strap to the outside and using the tensioning tool, tightly secure the tie around the outer liner. When you buy a section of sheet metal ductwork, it comes with a crimped end and a non-crimped end. That allows one side to slip easily into the non-crimped end. Sometimes when fixing ducts in the field, it is necessary to make that crimped end ourselves. For that, we use a crimping tool. The crimping tool puts a crimp. What it does, it dents some pieces in, some pieces out, and it makes it just slightly smaller so that it slides into a non-crimped piece of duct. Make sure you go all the way around the crimped end, and that will ensure complete coverage and make fitting it into the non-crimped section much easier. Then of course you just slide the crimped end into the non-crimped piece, and voila, you have a section of ductwork ready to fasten. The final step before applying mastic is to put at least 3 screws. Try to get the screws as evenly spaced around the duct as possible. The next tool we're going to discuss is the notcher. What the notcher does, it takes small sections of sheet metal out of a fitting and allows you to create those dog ears. And then those dog ears allow you to connect a piece of round duct to a piece of flat ductwork. And it's sometimes necessary to do this in the field when the part has become damaged and you have to replace it. The notcher is a relatively simple tool to use. You just insert the sheet metal into the jaws and squeeze, and it cuts triangle pieces out. Those triangle pieces leave tabs, and those tabs become important when attaching the round duct to the sheet metal ductwork. It gives us a place to put the screws. Continue all the way around the section of ductwork, trying to get the tabs as evenly spaced as possible. 1 to 2 inches usually does the trick. You fold out every other tab. The next step is to insert the round duct into the plenum or whatever section of ductwork you're attaching to. The unfolded tabs fit into the inside of the ductwork, and the folded out tabs go on the outside. And you should try to make them as flush with the section of duct as possible. Step 4, wearing your safety gloves. Put your hand inside the section of duct that you're attaching and fold back the tabs that were originally straight against the back of the sheet metal. Step 5 is to drive screws through the tabs that are now laying flat on the outside of the plenum or whatever section of ductwork that you're connecting the round takeoff to, with at least 3 sheet metal screws. Perhaps the most important tool you'll have in your toolkit will be a cordless drill, screw gun, or impact drill. These are obviously huge improvements over the hand drills, or perhaps even carrying 50 feet of extension cord with you while underneath the house. Be sure to carry lots of 1/4 inch and 5/16 inch drivers with you. Sheet metal benders or portable brakes, they are used to, well, bend sheet metal. Generally, we use them to make 90-degree bends. Those L's or those 90-degree bends can be used to connect 2 pieces of ductwork together that are at right angles to each other. The tool is relatively easy to use. You just insert the piece of sheet metal into the bending tool. Most bending tools have 2 different widths of the bend that you can make, generally about 1 inch and maybe 1/2 inch. You just insert the piece into it that you want to bend, and you fold it over to the desired angle that you want. Circle cutters fit into your portable drill. While it is possible to cut round holes with different snips into sections of ductwork, the circle cutter definitely leaves a less jagged hole in it than those little fish hooks. Again, anytime you're working with sheet metal, it is important to wear appropriate safety gear, wearing good gloves that won't get pierced. Circle cutters are great for making holes in sheet metal to add additional duct sections to. They are also really good at making access holes that allow you to seal the duct easier. Sometimes out in the garage, cutting into the plenum from the garage floor allows you to seal lots of small holes underneath it. As with all sheet metal, there's a danger of getting yourself some cuts. What we do before reaching into the section of duct that you just cut the hole into is put something like duct tape around the edge of it before reaching into it. This will assure that you will not hurt yourself. This is a downflow furnace. As you can see in this example, we've cut a hole, and that hole allows us to reach to the furnace, the plenum connection, way back into the plenum to the mixing box behind it. Additionally, what we're not showing in this is this gentleman actually attached a paintbrush to a 3-foot wooden stick, and he reached way back there to seal everything. The advantage of this, it was a very tight crawl space where the duct entered. This saved him lots of time. So seal all the joints you can reach. Sometimes you can have an extension to your paintbrush. Cover any loose duct liner with duct mastic. You reattach the duct liner, and then you boilerplate a sheet metal patch over the hole and cover the edges with sheet metal tape. The stitch stapler is a specialized tool used for fixing the road barrier in manufactured homes. What it does, as compared to a straight staple, which pushes the staple straight in, is meant to penetrate something like wood and attach, say, a fabric or Tyvek to a piece of wood. The stitch stapler, on the other hand, once it pierces the 2 layers of fabric bends back against itself, stitching the two layers together. To summarize, using the right tool for the right job makes your job easier, and it'll also make the job more durable. Duct knives are really the only way to cut flex duct in a correct manner. The tension tool, I'm sorry guys, you just aren't strong enough to get that tie tight enough by hand. It's the only way to make sure that flex duct won't fall off again. Getting one tension tie on the interior liner and the exterior liner is the key. Crimpers are really the best way to fit round metal ducts together. Doing it any other way just creates a mess. Notchers, definitely a good way to make field takeoffs secure. I'd just like to add one thing. Anytime you're working with sheet metal, you have the potential of working with a sharp metal object that can cause nasty cuts. Be sure to wear gloves at all times. And additionally, if you're reaching through any sheet metal you just cut, it is a good idea to take some duct tape and tape it around that hole in a temporary fashion so that any sharp edges or fish hooks won't reach out and get you. Work safely, guys.